Hello. It's been a while since I've been on this app. I've just been acting as a consumer and not much of a creator. But I wanted to come back to this comment that Lilith and Scorpio left on one of my videos. And they were asking about my thoughts on UBI and central digital currency. So I'll start with the central digital currency because that is something that I'm not as I'll say interested in. So from what I saw just on a cursory Google search was that bank digital currency is basically a digitalization of a bank's or a country's currency. So that's if we had like a crypto coin of sorts that was representative of the US dollar, in addition to having like currency or like paper monies that goes along with that. So I think it's clear with this administration that they're very crypto friendly. I have my reservations about that just because crypto is used a lot. It can be used as a money laundering scheme. It's a way to wash dirty money. It's not traceable, etc., etc. I've done already a video about that. Um, I think that as much as I'm not a huge fan of it, it seems like it is the way of the future that, especially with this administration, even if they don't get to it 100%, they're going to get the ball rolling in initiating the digitalization of America's currencies. What that means for I think the people that are very into crypto and Bitcoin as it stands now is that you're going to see a corruption of basically the foundations of that monetary system and what a lot of the early adopters liked most about it. The fact that it was not linked to the government, the fact that it was something that could be used internationally. In a lot of ways, it could be said that crypto was a de facto multinational currency in a way, even though not officialized, but in essence it is. Um, I don't think a lot of people that use crypto, not all of these people are criminals or people trying to wash dirty money, but a lot of the people that I've heard, like ordinary people that are in favor of it, liked it because it was not linked to central banking. Um, Anyone that is a millennial around my age, like early to mid 30s, grew up seeing the 2008 2009 financial crisis and the problems that caused and how these banks could basically get away with anything. A lot of people like crypto and Bitcoin because there's not subject to that type of market manipulation that you see the US dollar is subject to. Even we've seen in the last couple of months with the stock market, the president says XYZ and the stock market could tank or it could rally. That's another conversation for a different video. It's clear that there's market manipulation going on in some of the things Trump is doing, but that's neither here nor there. But I think the central bank digital currency thing, it's on its way. It may not be here in 4 years, but 10 to 15 years, we're going to see an official digitalization of the US currency. And by extension, you're going to see, I think, a decrease in value of Bitcoins and some of these cryptocurrencies that people are using now. So to the next part of the video, which is what do I think about UBI, which is Universal Basic Income. I have a lot of thoughts on this, not completely fleshed out. This is just me talking off the top of my head, but I will say that in theory, it is something that I think needs to be done. America is the richest country in the world. However, the citizens are not seeing the gains from that. The productivity of the average American citizen, our work ethic, we work more than other people in the, let's say, Western world, less vacation time, work more hours, more time away from our families. Yet we're not seeing that return in terms of vacation or even the ability to put food on your table. People are still living check to check. People will make some commentary about, oh, how people, are excuse me. So people will make commentaries about how personal responsibility comes into play and people are just irresponsible with their money, which that is true to an extent, but you have to remember that this is a systemic failure. If the average American is living check to check, that is not personal responsibility replicated a bunch amongst millions of people. There's likely a systemic issue that's at play that's causing it. The same thing for other things like obesity, or when you see high rates of alcoholism. There's other things at play that is mediating the high rates at which we see these things. So yes, I believe in UBI. However, the huge caveat here is, from what we've seen, nothing is ever free, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Someone can give with one hand but take with another. And what I see with the UBI is that I don't think that people are going to be able to get like a baseline UBI and still be able to work their job. I said in a previous video that I like to work. I find it's a passion of mine, what it is that I do. I like to keep busy. I like to volunteer. I like to do all of that stuff. However, I think the way UBI is going to be sold to people is going to be either or. It's going to be a Faustian bargain where it's like, well, you could not work and collect this UBI, which I highly suspect is not going to be enough to pay your bills. I've been hearing floatings of like $25,000, $17,000, and that can't do anything for you in America. I don't care if you live in West Virginia, one of the lowest costs of living states, Texas, and for sure not California. That little of money is not going to do anything. But what I suspect is they're going to offer people money and say, you don't have to work, but it's not going to be enough to live a comfortable lifestyle. And when I mean comfortable, I don't mean door dashing every day. I mean, you can live in a relatively safe, higher working class to middle class neighborhood, not upper middle class, not rich neighborhood. Send your children to school, send your children to after school activities like playing the piano or playing on the soccer team, and also being able to feed a family of four. That's not the money that they're going to give you. They're going to give you just enough that you can say that you're not starving, but your life is going to be difficult. You're going to basically be a peasant. On the other hand, what I also see happening is they say, well, if you want to work, you can work. You don't have to take the UBI. But the culmination of the fact that they are offering UBI and artificial intelligence specifically is going to decrease the value of jobs. So a person that makes $60,000 a year, yes, they're not going to want to take a $25,000 and God forbid a $17,000 a year UBI. But so they'll work and say, yes, I'm going to work. But what will happen is that with all of this technology and deregulation, that person's job, the $60K salary that people were commanding before, they might cut that down to $45,000 or even $30,000, to where it's barely more than whatever they offer for UBI. So it's like you're not making out much better if you take the vocation, because they're looking for ways to cut you anyway for efficiency purposes, and so that the corporate overlords can keep most of the money. So that is my problem with UBI, is that I feel that, one, it's going to be barely enough, if not enough at all. Two, the existence of UBI is going to give justification for a lot of corporations to cut the effective wage of a lot of its workers. So you're going to see a depression in wages. And two, one is the UBI not being enough. Two is like the depression in wages. But three, most especially, is what we're seeing now with a culling of a lot of federal programs that are meant to help people out. Like they're trying to make reforms to Section 8 so that it only lasts for 2 years. Food stamps is going to be cut. Medicaid is being cut. So all of these little things that help to somewhat smooth out American life are going to be gone. And then they're going to replace it with UBI that is not going to be enough to pay for medical care, pay for the healthy foods, and pay for all the other things that people need to live a relatively happy, insane life in America. So that is my problem with it. I would be careful of jumping the gun and saying it's an absolute good until we see how it's actually effectively rolled out. I'm all for UBI in the sense of like, if I can work and collect UBI and that can help facilitate me going to night school to get an MBA, or going to law school, or helping people actually spend time with their families, I'm all for that. But I just given the way things have been going so far, I don't think that's the way it's going to pan out. It's always going to be turned in favor of corporations and those that have money.